So just a quick reminder, the recording of this session will be available shortly in the event lobby and on our YouTube channel for you to revisit or share with colleagues. For those interested in receiving a copy of today's presentation slides, please email membership@rtca.org and we'll make sure to get them to you. And before we move on, I'd like to remind you again about our pre-recorded on-demand sessions available on YouTube. They offer additional insight into the key areas discussed today. Moving on to the next segment, I'm delighted to introduce the flash talk on aviation security at EASA. EASA plays a crucial role in ensuring aviation safety across Europe and cyber resilience in aviation. EUROCAE is a long-standing and strong relationship with EASA, collaborating on many initiatives to strengthen aviation security and safety. Today's talk will give insight in particular on Part IS, how the regulation was developed and how it is implemented. So I think if you're online today, I expect that it's relevant to you to some extent. With this, it is my pleasure to introduce Gian Andrea Bandieri, Section Manager for Cybersecurity in Aviation and Emerging Risk at EASA. Since November 2021, Gian Andrea has led the EASA team responsible for cybersecurity in aviation, concentrating on rulemaking, information sharing, threat identification, capacity building, and research. He has also managed security related to conflict zone. Welcome to Gian Andrea Bandieri. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Gian Andrea Bandieri. I'm the Section Manager for Cybersecurity in Aviation and Emerging Risks at EASA. And I have the pleasure today to brief you on what we are doing in the field of cybersecurity in aviation, and also I will give you some elements of two research projects that we are currently running that are looking at the interaction between safety and security. Let's start from cybersecurity. As we have explained many times, our objective at EASA is to make the EU aviation cyber resilient. This means that we have a system that is based on 4 pillars, whereas the first is the product, ensuring cyber protection of products during certification process. This is something that is in place for a long time, and since 2020 is part of an AMC, which is consistently taken into account for every process of certification for new aircraft or new components that have to be installed on aircraft. Then we need to look at the organizational element, so how people and processes are making sure that these protection of the aircraft is actually taking place. And here we have issued a regulation, the so-called Part IS, which I will explain you later. Then we are promoting information sharing among aviation stakeholders, because this is extremely important to ensure consistent resilience throughout the aviation system. As we know, aviation is a very interconnected system, and what is happening to our peer today could happen to us tomorrow, or what has happened to someone else on the other side of the country 1 month ago could hit us next week. So this is why sharing of information and having awareness of what are the possible attack techniques is extremely important. Finally, we are, through research and capacity building, trying to promote a culture for cybersecurity in aviation and to make sure that there are people at the right level of competence in order to tackle cybersecurity in aviation. So a couple of words about Part IS. Part IS is the regulation that we have issued between end of 22 and beginning of 23 to protect the aviation system from information security risks with a potential impact on aviation safety. So these are 2 pieces of regulation. that are intended to make sure that all aviation organizations have the right level of preparedness and mitigation in place so that they can manage information security risks. Within the scope, we don't only have organizations, but also we have aviation authorities. And this is important because there is nowadays a continuous exchange of information also between organizations and authorities, so that the same level of trust needs to be ensured also at the authority side. What are all subjects in aviation supposed to have in place is a system to identify and manage information security risk for all the systems and data that are used for civil aviation purposes. Then we expect them to be able to detect information security events and identify those which are considered information security incidents. An incident is where either confidentiality or integrity or availability is impacted. And then, in case an incident happens, we ask the organization and the authorities to be able to respond to these events and to recover after the attack has happened. The timeline for implementation of this regulation depends on the type of organization. A first batch of organization, design organization, production organization, aerodrome operators, and apron management service operators are expected to comply with delegated regulation 2022-1645 by 16 of October 2025. All the other type of organizations, so airlines, maintenance organization, training organization, air navigation service provider, and the authorities are expected to comply with the regulation by 22nd of February 2026. So now, as you can easily count, we are more or less 1 year before the first applicability deadline and a little less than 1.5 years before the second applicability deadline for the second batch of organizations. To support the implementation of the regulation in all type of organization, we have issued advisory and guidance material already in July last year. Now these set of documents are all available on EASA website, and they have also been published in the form of easy access rule, that is where, together with the regulatory text, you have AMP and GM reported immediately underneath. Part IS is adding a new set of requirements for both authorities and organizations that is de facto extending the set of authority requirements or organization requirements that these entities have to comply with. In particular, when it comes to organization, there is no separate certificate under Part IS, but the organization requirements under Part IS are becoming an integral part of the set of requirements that need to be complied with in order to maintain the certificate. At the heart of Part IS, there is a requirement to have an information security management system in place, or as acronym ISMS. An ISMS is a structured way to monitor and control information security risks and to make sure that residual risks are minimized. So, in this way, we have something that is working more or less as the management system that we already require organizations to have in place, to have a documented and systemic approach towards identification of risk, risk assessment, definition of mitigation measures, and implementation of the same. So for the ISMS, we decided to blend or to take inspiration for different sources and different existing frameworks. In first place, I have to mention ISO 27000 framework, which is also asking for an ISMS to be in place. And then we have taken some elements from the NIST framework, from the EASA basic regulation, which is setting the framework for aviation safety in Europe. And we have added elements that are taken from the occurrence reporting regulation that we have in place in Europe. To support the implementation in an harmonized way within Europe, we have created, together with all European authorities, what we call the Part IS Task Force, which is a group of experts that is developing a common understanding and sharing experience regarding the application of the rule. The purpose is to identify common solutions and to agree on an harmonized approach. This task force has already delivered some guidelines that can be found on the EASA website. In the first place, I would like to mention the guidelines for organization already approved according to ISO 27001. So what they have to add in order to be in compliance with Part IS. And then also guidelines on how to get an exemption from the requirements in case an organization doesn't pose risk to themselves and to the others. We have also mapped Part IS requirements against NIS2 directive and aviation security requirements in Europe, so that compliance is ensured in only one element. Now we are working on a second batch of deliverables, which include the establishment of ISMS at an authority, how the initial investigation of an ISMS at an existing organization should be conducted, and how to handle the case where entities are sitting across the responsibilities of different authorities. As last point on cybersecurity in aviation, I want to recall and to invite all of you to our Part IS implementation workshop that is taking place here in Cologne on the 7th and 8th of November, and that will be streamed on YouTube through the EASA YouTube channel. In this way, we would like to reach out as many people as possible. Now, quickly on the research projects that are being conducted in our remit. The first one is about detection of lithium batteries using security screening equipment. This is extremely interesting because it is an attempt to understand whether screening equipment can be used to detect dangerous goods. As you know, lithium batteries are dangerous goods. This is something that we have seen increasingly happening over time, and that needs to be addressed. So in this research project handled by CA International and Rapiscan, they have developed an algorithm to detect lithium batteries in checked baggage, and they have conducted airport trials. The results are quite promising in the sense that the detection is working as expected. The screeners noted a slight increase of the workload, although this is perfectly manageable. But what is extremely interesting is to see that it is possible to use security equipment also for safety purpose. The project is coming to its conclusion in the coming weeks, and we expect the final report to be issued before the end of this year. And finally, to conclude, I would like to mention another project that a consortium is running under the title Impact of Security Measures on Safety. This project has the objective to analyze interdependencies, to identify the impact of processes and job roles in security on safety, and then to develop harmonized methodologies that could be used for assessing impact of security on safety. This is quite a long-lasting project because it is spanning over 18 months. We are now entering the last 6 months of this project, and already all intermediate deliverables are available on EASA website. What we think is important here is that we have collected independent data and facts that are supporting potential decision-making on how to integrate security and safety. We are trying to do it in the most transparent possible manner and with the involvement of experts and stakeholders. And to that extent, we have also run several workshops that are being held in the past. With this knowledge base, we think that we are helping aviation, the full aviation system, to make appropriate decisions on how this interaction and maybe also this integration between safety and security should happen. With this, I would really like to thank you for your attention, and I would like to wish you a good rest of this Security Summit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gianandrea Bandieri, Section Manager at EASA for Cybersecurity and Aviation and Emerging Risks. We really appreciate your talk, giving us an update about what is happening at EASA and the opportunities there, the research being done. And we'd also like to thank you and all of EASA for the collaboration, US and Europe, and the commitment to globally harmonized standards that you support on both EUROCAE Working Group 72 and RTCA Special Committee 216. As a reminder, the recording of this session and all sessions will be available in the events lobby and on the YouTube channel of RTCA and the YouTube channel of EUROCAE. Right now, before the sessions are live, you can go and see our pre-recorded sessions, more about the work that's being done to capture standards that support the results of all the great research that EASA does.